your usual suspect. Hope you guys are doing well. It's a fantastic move for Arsenal fans out there across the world. Arsenal have just beaten Real Madrid by 3 goals to nil in the first leg of the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. Remember, we were on here prior to the kickoff, and I made a prediction of a 2-1. Well, Arsenal ugly surprised almost everyone. Not in a million years or by a mile did anyone predict that Arsenal could beat up against Real Madrid by the marginal score in which they have just done. Quite an incredible result to take the Santiago Bernabeu next week on Wednesday. That's on the 15th April, after they played Brentford in the weekend in the Premier League. What an incredible result. Declan Rice, the first Arsenal player to score a burst of free kicks in the knockout stages of the UEFA Champions League. The first Arsenal player and the first player ever to score a burst of free kicks in the UEFA Champions League knockout stages. But he becomes the first Arsenal player to score a burst of free kicks in a game since Nicolas Pepe in 2019 against Victoria. Yes, Victoria SC. That was in the Europa League. Arsenal winning that game by 3 goals to 2. Unai Emery was the man in charge when Nicolas Pepe scored a burst of free kicks. Today, Declan Rice has done it in spectacular style. Then he also becomes the first Arsenal player to score from a direct free kick since Martin Odegaard in 2021. For those of you that remember, that's 2021-2022 Premier League season. Martin Odegaard scored a free kick against Burnley as Arsenal beat up against Burnley by 1 goal to 0. So clearly, there was a lot of history being made today from the side of Arsenal as they beat up against Real Madrid by 3 goals to 0. Nobody expected it. It was an incredible start for Arsenal. They dominated play from the onset. They dominated possession from the onset, but then they weren't creating so many chances. And then Real Madrid on the other side were growing into the game. And by the end of the first half, they had indeed grown into the game. In the first half, Real Madrid had almost two clear-cut chances, and Arsenal had to hold on to David White to action to save from Kylian Mbappe in one instance. And on 2 different occasions, Kylian Mbappe beat that Arsenal high line running over them. It's pretty much something we did expected because we all know that Madrid's front line in Vinicius Junior, in Kylian Mbappe, in Rodrigo are all faster than Arsenal's backline. But Arsenal managed to neutralize that threat all throughout the game, but those moments in the first half. And then as Real Madrid grew into the game, of course, Arsenal also created some moments on the other side. And Bukayo Saka did make 2 brilliant crosses that swept across that box. One of them, Thibaut Courtois, putting the fingertips on it, to deny Arsenal. But of course, Arsenal lacked that, direct physical player in the Real Madrid presence, to have that presence in Real Madrid's box. That's why Bukayo Saka's 2 chances were all missed. The ball went begging, and that's how we ended up with a goalless first half. Thibaut Courtois, on one occasion, called into a double save as Arsenal tried to find the breakthrough. Then, of course, and then it was goalless at halftime. Then, in the second half, Arsenal switched that gear up. The fans were at their loudest, at least in recent memory, for every step of the game, for every moment. Declan Rice steps up to a free kick and scores a direct free kick. The first goal, and it's Arsenal 1, Madrid 0. A few minutes later, it's another free kick. Declan Rice says, "Give it to me. Let me blow you away." The way he bent that ball for the first free kick, the commentator had to remind us of Roberto Carlos's free kick against France in 1997. For those of you that have not watched that free kick, it was quite from a long distance. But the way Roberto Carlos struck that ball with a bend on it, with a lot of power on it and pace, is similar with what Declan Rice has just done for the first free kick. The ball had pace, he bent it around the wall to the near post, and that's how he managed to beat Thibaut Courtois. Then the second one was even much better because the way he struck that ball again with a lot of power, it had a lot of pace on it and precision, and it goes into the goal. And it was 2-0. So Arsenal scored all their 3 goals in a space of 17 minutes. Now, going into the game, when I read out the starting lineups for both sides, I was skeptical of Arsenal's choice. That's Mikel Arteta's choice to start with Miles Lewis Kelly at left back, because I thought he would have a long day defending against having to defend against Kylian Mbappe or Rodrigo, whoever was going through his way, because we know all those 3 players can interchange anyway. So that was my biggest concern. That was my biggest worry. And yet he remained largely absent from his position. That's Miles Lewis Skelly, because he kept on inverting into midfield to create that midfield overload. When you had Declan Rice move forward, when you had Martin Odegaard lead that press, he slotted into the midfield to help Thomas Partey to be that playing partner in that midfield. And in the end, it worked out well. He did provide the assist to Mikel Merino's goal, and it was a brilliant goal, because Mikel Merino takes that ball with the first touch. He gets the ball and only curls it beyond the reach of Thibaut Courtois, and Arsenal make it 3-0. Like I said, it's a result that none of us did expect, unless some of you out there, like Stacy Cruz, did expect such a scoreline. Personally, I honestly did not expect it. While I had hoped that Arsenal would win, my expectation was my prediction was a 2-1 victory for the Gunners there, to take that 2-1 victory advantage, perhaps at the Santiago Bernabeu, and maybe force a draw at the Bernabeu and then advance to the semi-finals. Well, they just blew us away. They surprised us. Whether they can complete the tie and go to Real Madrid and either draw the game or win the game or lose by a lesser margin than the one they carry with them remains to be seen. That's for next week. But as regards to tonight, it's a job done for Mikel Arteta's side, 3-0. Hey, GRN, how are you doing? Thanks for tuning to the broadcast. Welcome back from that fixture. Then, briefly, before in the second half still, on 2 different occasions, Thibaut Courtois was called into action, and he pulled off double saves when Arsenal kept on piling the pressure on. And it was really incredible to see. You could sense the danger, you could smell the danger from this Arsenal side. They just kept their foot on that gas. They fought for every ball. They really frustrated Real Madrid. William Saliba stood tall against Kylian Mbappe on the other side. In the first half, he had, I think, 2 slips that almost accosted Arsenal. In one of those moments, Julian Timber intervening and then having to twist his ankle, and he limped off there with the team doctor, but he eventually came back on. My expectation was that maybe he would not complete the game, but he played the entire 90 minutes until he was substituted for Ben White. And then, unfortunately for Arsenal, Bukayo Saka had to go off injured. It seemed like an issue again with his thigh muscle, the hamstring. I'm not sure he pulled the hamstring or he just felt a bit of tightness in it. I really do not know. We'll wait to hear from Mikel Arteta on the assessment from the doctors on regards to Bukayo Saka. But what an incredible night Arsenal have just had at the Emirates Stadium, beating Real Madrid by 3-0. Now, for purposes of context, when the 2 sides met back in 2006, the game at Highbury, I think, then ended, yes, because it was the 2005-2006 season. The game ended in a goalless draw, and then Arsenal went to the Bernabeu and won by 1-0, I think, to become the first English Premier League team that had beaten Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu. That goal scored by Thierry Henry. For those of you that do remember, for those of you that do subsequently or do adherently follow the channel, and if you're new, kindly do not forget to subscribe. I did put out reasons why I thought Real Madrid had to be scared of Arsenal. Now, of course, like the way debate goes, some people disagreed with me. Even I could have disagreed with myself if I were you on, on certain points. But we did discuss Arsenal's solidity in terms of defense, and they managed to keep a clean sheet. We spoke about that. We spoke about the defense. We spoke about their set piece strength. And when you look at today, two of their goals were set pieces. Declan Rice stepping up to score the free kicks, two of them, and then of course Mikel Merino, who has also equally stepped up in high gears. Remember, when Arsenal lost Gabriel Jesus and Kai Havertz to season-ending injuries, one having the hamstring and the other a knee injury, we all thought that Arsenal desperately needed to sign a striker in the January transfer window. They somehow did not do that, so much to the anguish of Mikel Arteta, who had himself said that they needed to do something. However, they were unable to do that. We all know they were without a sporting director at that point, but had an acting member following the departure of Edu Gaspar Dawood, who has since been replaced by Andrea Bata, but we'll speak about that. So every Arsenal fan out there was pretty much worried, understanding what Arsenal are going to do without a striker. We all know they let go of Eddie Nketiah to Crystal Palace last summer, for £25 million. Then you've lost Kai Havertz, who we all know is a hybrid of a striker, not naturally a striker. And then your natural striker in Gabriel Jesus is out injured. Again, we all know you sold off Frolim Balogun after a season-long run in France. So Arsenal were really short on forward numbers. We all know that Leandro Trossard prefers to play as a 10 other than a direct 9. So everyone was wondering, what are Arsenal going to do in that situation? Well, Mikel Arteta called on his summer signing in Mikel Merino, and he has really stepped up. He scored 6 goals, I think, in the Premier League with the brace against Leicester City in one of those goal squad. Then the other goal did come against Chelsea. Then he scored another goal. When was that? There's a goal he scored not too far back. Yes, against Fulham. So clearly, he's really stepped up in ways that we had never anticipated. And just as we speak, even tonight, he did step up and scored one for Arsenal as they beat Real Madrid by that scoreline of 3-0. So Mikel Merino is that other player that can go without his name being mentioned. And of course, the assist provider in Miles Lewis Kelly. Like I said, I had my worries, I had my concerns. I thought he would get done by Rodrigo Mbappe, but that we never lived to see that moment in the game. He was actually one of the best players on the pitch. My man of the match, of course, for me goes to Declan Rice, but defensively, they're just every Arsenal player out there was just incredible. But they're just those honorable mentions. One, Thomas Partey in that midfield, he fought for every ball. I thought he was quite incredible. Martin Odegaard kept on going, even in the 90th minute, chasing that ball. Declan Rice, my man of the match. That brace, nobody saw that coming. He stepped up, scored those free kicks with spectacular fashion. But Miles Lewis Kelly deserves his flowers as well. Mikel Merino, quite incredible. William Saliba made amends to his first half slips with an incredible second half performance. Then Jakub Kiwior. I know very many Arsenal fans out there underrate Jakub Kiwior. Why? Because we all know he's not a regular starter at Arsenal. He's largely played as a backup, and then he's had, his mishaps sometimes when he's been called to action, which does happen to a player that does not play regularly, barely gets to be substituted on. The only time he plays is when Gabriel Magalhaes is injured, or in the cup tournaments, that's the FA, Carabao Cup, that kind of thing. But he's really stepped up. We all know that Arsenal lost Gabriel Magalhaes to a hamstring injury, a season-ending hamstring injury in their game against Fulham as they beat Fulham by 2-1. And Jakub Kiwior was called out to step up. He stepped up. Over the weekend, in the 1-1 draw that Arsenal had with Everton, he was voted man of the match. And today, he had another wonderful performance. So clearly, it was really good. Bukayo Saka created some big chances, although there was nobody to capitalize on them. So he had a good performance until he leaped off injured. Arsenal fans will be hoping and praying that injury setback is not as bad as it may seem. That maybe he misses the weekend game, but he is okay to return for the return leg at the Santiago Bernabeu. And then Gabriel Martinelli had a fairly good game, not the best of the games he's played, but he also ran his feet off. Julian Timber was quite incredible. So that Arsenal side. On the side of Real Madrid, I would give the flowers to Thibaut Courtois, because if it weren't for his saves, maybe Arsenal could have easily ended that game with maybe with a scoreline of 5. But he had some really brilliant saves there to keep out, I think, Declan Rice, to keep out Mikel Merino, and maybe I think on another occasion it was Gabriel Martinelli. So clearly, very, very big performances. But in the other result of the night in the UEFA Champions League, Inter Milan beat up against Bayern Munich by 2-1. Bayern Munich were at home, so the return leg is on in Italy next week. Tomorrow, there's 2 fixtures coming your way. Borussia Dortmund are up against Barcelona, while PSG are up against Aston Villa. So do look out for that action. Perhaps we'll engage on another forum or at another moment more about that Arsenal result. But do let me know down in the comment section what you made of the game, what your thoughts were. Did you expect that kind of result? Who was your man of the match? What do you think Real Madrid didn't do right? Personally, I thought they didn't fight for that ball in the midfield really enough. They were really outrun by Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, and Martin Odegaard. Luka Modric did have the impact that the experienced player of his caliber would have in such a game. Jude Bellingham didn't really step up. He was reduced to a pedestrian. In the dying moments of the game, or in the later minutes of the game, you could see Kylian Mbappe really shrug. Like after that goal really went in, you could see that he had lost it. That he knew that the game was really going, that it was now out of their hands. They really fancied them. They really tried to push for a consolation to make it 3-1, but Arsenal put their bodies on the line. They defended solidly. So do let me know what your thoughts are, what they are about that game that you just watched. Who was your man of the match? What was your key moment of the game? What do you expect in the reverse fixture? What do you think Arsenal need to do to make sure that they advance to the semi-finals and that kind of thing? But for now, allow me to wish you a wonderful night, and perhaps, but maybe before I let you go, let me read for you some of the comments maybe that are coming out in regards to that particular fixture. And these comments are coming from X. This one says, move over Juninho Panapcano. That is Ismail Dakabaki Gongo. That's in praise of Declan Rice's free kicks taken there. Declan Rice, wow, that second free kick belongs in the books. But let us talk about Merino. Who is this man? That calm and precision in the finishing. Madrid is done. No comeback from 3-0 down. Arsenal surely scores at the Bernabeu. Finally, someone is taking care of the dictator. That's a tweet from Melvin. There, he calls himself King Melvin. That's one of the comments from. And then there's another praise from Nicolas Jova. That's the Arsenal set piece coach in regards to those free kicks that Declan Rice did tap beyond the reach of Thibaut Courtois. Let's see if we can get more reactions here in regards to Arsenal. There's some comments about Thomas Partey. Yes, Thomas Partey. This one says Nungua Banaboy. That's what he calls himself. Thomas Partey appreciation tweet. He outclassed a midfield of Bellingham, Luka Modric, and Kamavinga. Rice goals took the show, but Partey's presence made the difference. That's what I was really talking about in that midfield. He really did stand tall into this midfield. Then this one says Thomas Partey completed 92% of his passes against Real Madrid, the highest by any midfielder in the game. And it goes on to say Maestro. So brilliant, really brilliant performances there. More reaction is still flowing in. This is largely from fans across the world, from X. That's where we are getting some of these reactions. Another famous win for Arsenal in the UEFA Champions League against Real Madrid. There is a picture of Declan Rice and that of Thierry Henry donning on that O2 yellow long sleeve kit in which Arsenal wore at the Santiago Bernabeu back in 2006. For those of you that do remember. Then Piers Morgan, this is a famous Arsenal fan and an English journalist. He says full-time 3-0, one of the greatest wins in Arsenal history, with 2 of the greatest goals in Arsenal history from Declan Rice. What a night. Congratulations. Congrats to Mikel Arteta and all the team. This will be the staff Arsenal. This will be the staff of Arsenal legend. Brilliant. And then we do have here now Arsenal. They call themselves now Arsenal. Roberto Carlos cannot believe what he's seen from Declan Rice tonight against Real Madrid. There's a picture of Roberto Carlos somewhere in the stands with his mouth agape there. So then this one is a stat from Opta. Yes, they say Arsenal registered 11 shots on target in this match, the joint most on record since 2003-2004 by a team in the UEFA Champions League knockout stage game against Real Madrid. Also 11 by Liverpool in March 2009 onslaught. And then some stats for Miles Lewis Kelly. Miles Lewis Kelly versus Real Madrid: 100% tackles, 100% dribbles completed, 95% accuracy, 4 use, 1 2 key passes, 1 clean sheet, 1 assist. Anyway, guys, do let me know what your thoughts were on that game, what you made of it, and anything else. For those of you that would want to refresh your memory, go to the channel at Footballtribeug and check out the video in which I said why Real Madrid have a reason to fear Arsenal or facing Arsenal. And then we also looked at the Madrid side because that game is coming next week and we'll be revisiting some of those reasons as to why Arsenal will be concerned or scared going to the Santiago Bernabeu, because it's not a place that any team just goes and wins a game. But for now, allow me to wish you a blessed night, and I see you next time. Bye-bye.